All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the daily update of my 1000 day challenge. This is day 302, so let's get things started. All right, so first and foremost, you'll notice the balance is up around 150, and that's actually due to, I guess, I would say 2.5 trades that went in terms of my favor. And the reason why it's 2.5 is simply because one of the trades I actually took in terms of the target profits, I actually closely hit the 1:1.5, but I was stretching it a little bit. So it actually bounced off strongly in terms of support based on that. And by the time I went back to look into the chart itself, I took whatever profit it has. So it was only like, I think, $8 or $9 itself left in terms of the profit itself, instead of the usual, say 1:1.5, I'll be looking at $75-ish for 50% or $50 risk itself, which is a 1% risk for my experimental trade setup. All right, so with that said, in terms of the market structure on the weekly chart basis, what I do notice that it's exactly the same as last week. There's no major, or there isn't any drastic or change in terms of the market structure on the major market itself on the weekly chart. So do bear in mind that even though we may seem a little bit overextended over here, I will still say that we are maintaining a very healthy level kind of upward momentum even on the weekly chart for the S&P 500, even though it would be great if we do have some sort of retracement to have some reduced momentum and stick closer towards this 20 exponential moving average itself. And with that said, looking on the Nasdaq itself, things looks to be great as it's a little bit sticking closer towards the 20 exponential moving average on the weekly chart basis itself. On the other hand, for ASHR, like I mentioned, the key thing was a very nice bounce, and now we could see how strong this recovery is. And if you look in terms of Fibonacci retracement itself, as shown on the chart itself, looking from the high to the low over here, key resistance to look at would definitely be at this 100 for this 42.9 or this $43 region, which is the 0.618 region you can see over here. So potentially there could be some sort of rejection over here, but even if it does reach over there, it still shows there's a healthy retracement and pullback. And I would say that there's nothing wrong if we do have some sort of retracement here before we continue towards the upside of things. Okay, by itself, it does looks a little bit bearish on the daily chart, but on the weekly chart, like what I mentioned, things still looks to be strong. Although we can see a decrease in terms of the momentum itself on the 150 simple moving average itself. So hopefully you can break above these daily horizontal resistance at this $71.30 region. Clear break above that will definitely have a much greater shift in terms of momentum. But you can see that as prices do fall down, the volume itself is not exactly strongly increasing. So I wouldn't say that the sell-off pressure has definitely decreased in terms of momentum wise. And finally, in terms of Bitcoin itself, so overall Bitcoin itself, even though things still looks to be a little bit bearish itself, we are still maintaining, forming a clear, distinct higher low over here at this moment itself. That's not to say that if we do break below this 30K, then yes, tentatively the shift in terms of further bearish momentum would be even more drastic as you'll be exhibited on the weekly chart itself. So even though right now we do see some sort of a lower low and lower high over here, do bear in mind that overall market structure still remains bullish and that is clearly intact. So in terms of long-term investment wise, I'm definitely still in. And if you want to say that the greater or the whole basis itself, to me will definitely be on this 19K mark. So clearly if this 19K mark is being held, or even if it does break below it and is quickly supported, then tentatively I'll still remains bullish in terms of long-term investment wise, coming from price perspective. And finally, on the 4-hour chart itself, to me, I don't see any clear potential trade setup. And reason being is very simple. We are trending just, to me, in some sort of a range consolidation pattern, even though clearly we are forming lower highs and lower low. So we do see potential support over here, but there is potential rejection that we could see further low right again. So for me right now, I'm staying clear out of the market in terms of 4-hour and daily chart for Bitcoin itself until there's a clearer consolidation pattern form before I consider a re-entry for short setup in that perspective. Simply because the target over here will be the clear target to target. I do think that we could potentially retest this support once again, even though the third time we retest, it tends to be weaker. But do bear in mind that unless there's a good risk to reward setup on the 4-hour chart, I would not consider entering for a short setup just as well for a long setup. So with that said, I've come to the end of today, and I'm currently in one trade, I guess, in terms of short wise. I could be taking in terms of stop loss because we have these small little powerful upside trends as well. And with that said, I've come to the end of the day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye.